It is Pro Football Today live right here from Las Vegas. Super Bowl LVIII just a few days away from the key number of 3 to a triple crown. The individuals that are going to lead the way in each stat category in Super Bowl Sunday. A passing yards leader, a rushing yards leader, and the most receiving yards for Super Bowl LVIII. You put them all together, that's a parlay available to bet on the FanDuel Sportsbook, that triple crown number. Kevin Walsh gets us started with the quarterback. Kev, only 2 to choose from Super Bowl LVIII, and I have a faint idea of which quarterback you give the nod to.
You know what they say when you assume. Now, it is important to note, though, triple crown, horses for courses. No course I've performed better than this monitor wall here, so listen up, because the passing leader will be, of course, Brock Purdy. If you look through his 2 playoff games, it's 250 plus each and every time. Pat's last 2 can't even hit 250. And even if the idea is the Niners are going to win, it doesn't mean Pat has to throw for 1,000,000 yards, because that's not how Patrick Mahomes operates, averages 60 less yards per game in losses. Rushing leaders, let's not complicate this. Christian McCaffrey has a rushing yards prop 24 yards higher than the next closest player. While I would love to get tangy and throw Mahomes in this category to give him a bit respect, I couldn't get there. I didn't think it was important to break tendency in that market. But in the receiving leader market, you could sell me on Travis Kelce, who in the AFC title game had over 100 receiving yards, despite Patrick Mahomes throwing for only 240. He had 75 receiving yards against Buffalo, despite Patrick Mahomes only throwing for 215. Travis Kelce has the highest receiving leader prop actually in this game. So really, I took a pair of leaders and then potentially the Super Bowl MVP and bet I'm rewarded with 16 to 1.
I can't believe you would use the assume clause on me to just stick it with Super Bowl MVP Purdy, but that is the passing yards leader. Travis Kelce, a chief, the receiving yards leader, and of course Christian McCaffrey, 16 to 1 price for Kevin's triple crown. These 2 check out to me, of course, his MVP pick. But, Donnie, for Mr. San Francisco, 31-13 was the prediction. Travis Kelce finds his way into the Triple Crown?
Yeah, look, it's a nice price at 16 to 1. You got solid football players up there. There's no doubt about it. But I would have liked to see a little bit more of a correlation from you, Kevin, here. Brock Purdy, maybe with a little Ayuk action, maybe a little Debo action, or even George Kittle. I understand why we go with Travis Kelce. We expect him to have a big game. We'll see how it plays out. But the 16 to 1 price, the one thing I do know is that Christian McCaffrey line, it's going to be very popular in this segment.
Yeah, it is. I will just make this point, though. The favorite option in this market is these 2 with the replacement of Pat Mahomes at underneath plus 750. So you bring it up, Donnie. I know joking a bit, but if you go anti-correlated in this triple crown, I mean, you're going from plus 720. The flop from Pat to Brock Purdy is 16 to 1. But Joe, you are up, and I'm excited to see what you have.
You let me down. I'm a diva. Bright lights, big city, right? So I like the big money prices. We're going to start with Brock Purdy. 246.5 is his number. Multiple 300-yard performances. He's the catalyst for this ball game. I think he could step up in a big way. Brock Purdy's my guy. CMC, we talk about his rushing yard performance against Detroit. He's 20 carries, 90 yards. I think he has the potential to break out on the ground, through the air, and also lead this game in rushing. $125, not out of the realm of possibility. And I changed it up. I want big money. George Kittle. We talked about George Kittle in losses, multiple 100-yard performances. Last 2 games, 9 receptions, 90 yards. George Kittle's my pick, and guess what? A big 18 to 1 price, guys. That's where I'm going.
Not as big as I was hoping for, though, Joe Lisi.
Somebody told me it was 35 to 1.
But you were supposed to see it initially.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I could have went Debo.
Yeah.
And I think Debo breaks out on the ground, and I could have went McCaffrey for receiving. Yeah. But then people would think I'm just nuts, thinking that Christian McCaffrey could get $140 through the air.
But isn't that where you want to live?
Right,
on the edge of insanity.
Great intro, though.
I'm a diva. I'll bet it on my own, but for the sake of the show, it's 18 to 1.
He gives him the 18 to 1. I respect it. Now, BSS, I mean, he said he's a diva. It's a tough act to follow, but I think you can handle it.
Can we give me a little play fake as I'm coming across?
Can I pull it?
Read.
Fumble,
I'm stiff
fumble.
arming you.
Easy.
That was a little bit too aggressive there, Joe. We're doing this in suits, my friend. Don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear. So as we start with the passing yards leader, I'm going with Brock Purdy as well. We just learned, entering this segment, a little bit of tempo in terms of the number. 245.5 is where it opened for Brock Purdy on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, for the second-year pro out of Iowa State, Mr. Irrelevant, who was very relevant to the outcome of Super Bowl 58, 246.5. I think Kyle Shanahan is aggressive from the start. Brock Purdy, over a number that's pretty minimal for him, 277.5 was that prop for the NFC Championship game. He went over 246.5 10 times, double digits, 10 out of 16 games in the regular season. You just got to look at Christian McCaffrey for the rushing yards leader for Super Bowl 58. The numbers in terms of the rushing yards props between Christian McCaffrey and Pacheco is over 20 yards of difference. 67.5 for Pacheco, for Run CMC. That number 90.5, at least 90 rushing yards in both of the victories for the 49ers throughout this NFC postseason. I expect more of the same. And the Chiefs defense, bottom half of the National Football League in defending the run throughout the regular season, over 123 yards per game. Then we go to Deebo Samuel. 4.5 is the receptions prop. It is already bet. It is a ticket I hold. He was the leading receiver in terms of both target share, grabs, and yards in the NFC Championship game, despite being 50-50 through most of that week. When you look at the numbers for Deebo Samuel, I expect him to be the key component of this offense come Super Bowl Sunday in Super Bowl 58. A plus 1260 number, not exactly the juiciest. It wasn't the 18-1 or the 35-1, Donnie, that Joe Lisi thought he had, but still love that plus money price.
And look, if we are all looking forward to, at least many of us, to San Francisco winning this football game, and if they do hit their team total and maybe approach 30 points, it looks like we got a great correlation here with Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey running it up, and you get a nice price point, over 10-1, a plus 1260. It makes some sense because the game flow for us, we expect a big game out of San Francisco, so Ben, why not load up on San Francisco?
Lisi, when you tried to hit me right there, I felt as though we were in competition. Yeah, you failed.
No. Oh, it was the other day.
Anytime.
It was the other day when I went up against a big man.
Listen, we got, and it's all right. You'll get him next time,
He
kid.
said this.
I popped him.
Yeah,
I popped him. It's fine. We can do Oklahoma drills. There's a lot of room on this set if we need to. Now, DRS. Correlation seems to be the key word for you when trying to deliver a triple crown. Is that what we can expect?
Yeah, that's what we can expect. So should I go and deliver what we got here now?
Yours.
These three guys actually were out here walking the plank. I'm going to walk the red carpet as I strut over here. We always save the best for last, and this is the last segment you're going to need. So remember the plays that I give you because these will be stone cold winners. Let's take a look at the passing leader. Look at these bozos over here. Brock Purdy, I got one of the single best quarterbacks in the history of this sport in Patrick Mahomes. And yes, if they are losing 31-13, as Kevin says, and he looked it up, that means Patrick Mahomes is going to have a monster game in the fourth quarter and throw for an absolute ton of yards. Patrick Mahomes here, my passing leader, an absolute no-brainer. Now let's take the easy route here. We're going to pick a rushing leader in this football game to see who's going to dominate on the ground. You know it's going to be. It's going to be Christian McCaffrey, and it makes the most sense. As we brought up in this show multiple times, even if the 49ers are losing this game, you'll never lose Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield here. I look for a big game performance, 90.5, 91 yards in that game. I look for him to easily eclipse that. And then let's get to the receiving leader. Now, as much as I wanted to put my picture up on here, but I'm not playing in the Super Bowl here, it's going to be Rashee Rice. We're going to correlate that with Patrick Mahomes. I expect 1 to 2 big plays out of Rice. If I can get, guys, at least a 30 to 40-yard catch out of Rice, legitimate chance I'm going to be able to take this down, and he is going to lead this game for receiving. So now that you got all the winners, let me walk back over to the losers, and we'll have some fun and see what they think about that here.
He's dropping bars right now.
Now, I got to say, right? Sell me something yesterday. Plus money. BSS comes in with minus 128.
Beautiful.
I mean, Donnie, plus 8. We couldn't even get quadruple digits here.
Look, to be honest, I bet this at 17-1, and they dropped it to plus 820 by the time we got them set. So that's it.
Gave it out to the client.
Gave it out to the clients. Got it, man. They did.
The crypto special.
It is amazing in the sense that we're talking about the explosiveness for both of these teams, and we haven't even brought up the total. That's sitting at 47.5. Again, I'm starting to like the total more and more now.
Yeah, you're going Alt, over.
50s.
My thing that stands out is we obviously are all aware of what we're going to do here, and we have to stay true to what we want. But listen, you could talk someone into being like, what's going on here?
Oh, look at this.
This is all been added up.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was like odds to be the best host. I don't like what I'm seeing here.
Oh, I
Donnie
love
Wright's
what I'm
high
seeing.
favorite in a
Please.
big
I'm not
way.
mad about it.
Renegotiation?
My thing is nobody dared go outside of Christian McCaffrey. A 4-for-4 clean sweep reminds me of myself a little bit there. But did anybody consider Pacheco? You consider Debo, I imagine.
I did Debo, but again, I think Debo could get to 60. I just don't know if he can get to 100, 100 and a quarter. The problem I have with Pacheco is, 20 carries, 68 yards against Baltimore. That front seven could step up.
Yeah.
He's going to need to break a big run. It's more McCaffrey than Pacheco.
Out of the Rutgers nature of my heart, and to be a little bit contradictory in terms of what we were doing, I wanted to look at Isaiah Pacheco. I think he has a good day. I think he can even go over 67.5 rushing yards. But the disparity of what Christian McCaffrey means to San Francisco, and Pacheco has become the most important offensive player, I think, outside of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce for this Kansas City offense entering Super Bowl 58. It did make some sense, but I had to stick with Christian McCaffrey. I think the reason that Donnie's number is as short as it is, the only one that is 3 digits, is because you started with Patrick Mahomes, 262.5, his passing yards prop. That's still over 15 yards in front of where Brock Purdy stands.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out here. And again, 2 weeks to prepare for this game. Been there, done that, Patrick Mahomes, as opposed to Brock Purdy. But I think we brought up some good points here, Ben, on Isaiah Pacheco. For me, more of the sturdy running back. It's not like saying he's going to get that work done, but I think we all agreed the chance for the explosive plays is where you want to go. So if you have one run for Christian McCaffrey, 50-plus yards, that should take it. Pacheco's going to be more of that guy, 6 to 7 yards is that consistent run.
I will add the other side of it, though. We've talked about Patrick Mahomes, what he does in wins versus what he does in losses. And if he has a big game in a win, and this game is as explosive as Joe Lisi thinks it could be, the anti-correlated Mahomes passing yard leader, take your pick of Niner pass catcher, it is a bit tempting, right? Ayuk or Debo Samuel, maybe George Kittle. I think there is a world where you could sell me on that because I am a believer in the fact that, well, there's a fact that Mahomes throws for more yards, Ben, when he wins games.
Yeah, and you have made that fact very clear.
Tried.
Some of us have listened, others not so much. I want to know finally here, as we highlight the great graphic work of what we have back in the tri-state area, did they use a different Christian McCaffrey photo for each of our 4 selections as the rushing yards leader?
They did. I think they did.
That's impressive.
That's impressive.
That's great
That's
work.
good work. That's a Super Bowl stage, and that's a Super
bad.
Bowl performance.
Should we send Donnie back through the red carpet one more time?
I really would love to see
I feel
it
like
stroll.
Everybody was so
can they post
impressed.
any
Can you
graphics
do like
up here for me?
Can you do a runway walk?
Yeah, because it'd be like, my statistics, 93 catches, and then we
Yes.
go over. I didn't score that many touchdowns, maybe about 10, but you know what I mean? I was a diva-type player like Patrick Mahomes, so there you go. Ran away.
Perfect stuff. We'll be right back. More Pro Football Today. Back Pro Football Today. We're live with you here on SportsGrid at the FanDuel Sportsbook set. Kevin Walsh, Ben Stevens, Donnie Rightside, and the man of the hour, Joe Lisi. Because, Joe, it seems like you're hot on this over 47.5, and people want to know more about it.
Yeah, we're talking about explosive players on both sides of the football, and I just can't see how this game trends under, even if Kansas City is able to dictate the tempo because of how much Brock Purdy might potentially throw in this ballgame. Debo Samuel, how they utilize him in multiple schemes. Christian McCaffrey. We didn't even talk, and none of us picked Brandon Ayuk that has 7 100-yard performances on the year. If he gets going in this matchup, what does that mean in regards to the total? Again, it's a Super Bowl. I understand Kansas City's gotten here running the football and with defense guys, but I think this game could really trend into the 50s.
Yesterday, I was walking through the sportsbook where we're staying on the strip at the Excalibur, and I was holding these helmets to make sure they were prepped and ready to go for this early morning on a Thursday. And a guy sees me, and he goes, "Love the helmets, man. Just bet 27-24. Final score, either team wins. I don't care." And I look at him and I go, well, then you better bet the over as well. That's 51 points. That's over 47.5. You would have thought that I just spoke a different language to him and opened up his world. He was fired up, Donnie, when he realized he could bet the over as well for Super Bowl 58.
And it makes the most sense because no matter which team you like, I think the outcome that we want to start this football game is what, guys? let's get up 14 points for San Francisco and force Kansas City to actually push that tempo and get back into it. Because what we're hoping again is Kyle Shanahan learned his lesson in the last Super Bowl. Put the foot down to the gas the entire way through, and I think we'll get that type of performance here, Joe.
I agree. And here's the other thing as well is that, to Kevin's point, San Fran has started slow from an offensive perspective. If they start fast, what does that mean for Kansas City in this ballgame?
For many, it means a ton of passing yards, and they'll match. And for me, 31-13. I am not on this total, but again, I can be wrong. It certainly wouldn't be the first time, and it won't be the last. But let's hope it's not the case. I just got a vote of confidence in the back, so I feel good about that. We continue to break down the Super Bowl in every way possible next.